Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of the award-winning podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire, and you're listening to the Excelsior Journeys with George Sirois. Prepare to ignite.
Is there a burning desire within to share your creativity with the rest of the world? Do you insist on pursuing your passion by any means necessary? Then you are on an Excelsior journey, and you are not alone. Welcome back to Excelsior Journeys. My name is George Sirois. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for downloading. And in advance, thank you very much for subscribing, for liking, for reviewing. This show needs obviously, like any podcast, it needs all the exposure that it can get. And that comes from all of you. So the fact that you're here, you're listening, you're downloading, that means a lot to me. So thank you so much. And I also just want to keep, just kind of reiterate what I had spoken last week, my very vague little lead into what is happening on the beginning of April for Excelsior Journeys and for a series of other shows that are going to be a part of something very special. And so this is my way of just saying, keep an ear out for what is coming up in future weeks, because there's a lot happening in the world of Excelsior Journeys and the shows that surround it. Just saying. Now, I've spoken a lot about Facebook on here. It's obvious that a lot of people that I know, they all come from Facebook. They're either friends that I know just through Facebook or people that I have known throughout my life. Some of my best friends, people from, you've heard the earlier shows. It goes all the way back to elementary school for myself and Mark Fratto, my second guest. But I haven't really dived into the world of Twitter. And I look at Twitter as basically the world's largest cocktail party. And when you are out there, you have a drink in your hand, you're mingling, you're having fun. The one thing you don't want to do is basically just kind of throw your business card at anyone in reach, because you're going to wind up turning them off. Just think about that moment in real life. You have a drink in your hand, you are walking around, you are mingling, you're saying hello to people, you're being very conversational, and then all of a sudden just someone kind of butts in and sticks a business card like right on your face. That's basically what happens a lot with Twitter. Anyone who gets a direct message from an author just saying, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, that's kind of how it is, unfortunately, too often. I kind of shy away from doing that sort of thing. What I like to do is I like to open up with conversations. I like to kind of just chat with people. If they followed me first, I want to thank them for following. I'll take a look at their profile, obviously, to see if they are a legit person. Things like that. One time about a year ago, I logged onto Twitter just like any other day, and I noticed that there was somebody new following me. And when I clicked on it, I saw that there was a woman from Canada who is a painter, and her name was Lisa Penz. And I was very, very much taken by everything that I saw, because I saw someone who is literally doing Twitter right. What they're doing is they're spreading the word about things that they're doing, but she's doing it in a very, very fun, interactive way. He's obviously posting a lot of pictures because she is a painter, and showing off like a lot of different sides of her work, both the abstract work that she has done and the very awesome Disney-inspired work that she has done. And that sort of thing definitely took me by surprise. It was just the fact that someone out of nowhere with this kind of talent, with this kind of social media footprint, is all of a sudden following me. And so when that happens, someone is basically coming up to say hi to you. What do? You say hello back. And so that's what I did. I went ahead and followed her in return. And throughout the year, we've been able to have just, like little, not full-on conversations, but at least keep in touch here and there. And seeing her work, seeing how she evolves, she has evolved as an artist during the year that I've known her. I knew that she was going to be a slam dunk for to approach to be a guest on this show. And thankfully, she accepted. And here we are tonight. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you artist, painter extraordinaire, Lisa Penz. Lisa, how are you?
Hi, George. I'm well, thanks. And the pleasure's all mine.
Thank you so much again for being here. I really appreciate it. So it's just a thrill to see all these people of such talent agreeing to be a part of this show. That really means a lot to me. So thank you so much for being here. So I'm curious to know, like, what was it that all of a sudden spurred you to follow me in the first place? I'm curious about that.
I think that you do a really good job with your Twitter profile and expressing your personality. And that just really shone for me. And yeah, you just look like someone that I'd like to get to know and be friends with, and would like to continue to know more, really.
Excellent. I'm happy to see that I'm doing something right here. So I will definitely take that and run with it.
Yes.
So I've asked, my guests here before, what I am really curious about is that what I call the lightning bolt moment. What was it, since you're an artist and a terrific one at that? I am curious to see, like, what was that lightning bolt moment for you? What was it that made you say, I want to do that. I want to paint like that. I want to express myself like that. What was it that really got you in that direction that you're on right now?
It happened about, I'd say, 10 years ago. I was working as a graphic designer for a fashion magazine in Brisbane, Australia.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and one day I left work and I began the long journey home, which consisted of a bus ride, a boat ride, and a very long walk. And as I was approaching the last leg of my journey, a long walk, it was very hot. It was summer in Australia at the time, in Queensland. And I came upon a furniture store, and there was a sign outside that said art opening. And I thought, wow, this looks amazing. I'm exhausted, but I know they will have air conditioning.
There you go.
So I proceeded to go inside, and when I walked into that store, I walked out a changed person.
Really?
And I saw the most beautiful paintings that I had ever seen in my life, and they were situated in a circle, and there was furniture, gorgeous like furniture between them. They were all on easels, and it was portrait work. It was very contemporary, a little bit graphic novelish, and it was beautiful. Each one I stood in front of, I was just shocked what I saw, and what I saw was myself. I saw myself looking back at me, and even though each female portrait looked very different, and the colors were it was mostly black, but there were a lot of different colors going on. I felt that I wanted to share this feeling with other people, and I had always drawn from a very young age, and I just knew that I could do something similar, and I could share that with others so that they could experience this magical feeling that I experienced that day.
That's amazing. That is so cool. So you said that you were in Australia. What was it that got you over there? Because you grew up in Canada, correct?
I did, here in Vancouver. Well,
yes.
I had a really interesting opportunity to work in Australia because my boyfriend at the time was a producer for EA Sports.
So he
was working on a video game. So it was actually a video game.
Oh, wow.
A first-person shooter that took me to Australia with him. And I was very lucky because he negotiated that I would get a working visa the same he had. And so I was able to work wherever I wanted and travel. And I was hesitant to leave Vancouver because I had just been, I was very young. I was 22 when I left, and I was an art director of the second largest publishing company in Western Canada. So I was really, I was really serious, very, very serious about my job. And the deal was that I would work on my career as well.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I left Australia a painter. So
Right.
I guess I did, work on my career.
Yeah, absolutely. So, since you're from Vancouver, I just want to interject really quickly and just say, because I've spoken with people from Vancouver before, and especially when I worked at Top of the Rock at the observation deck at Rockefeller Center, and I've asked them,
Oh,
just told them that yes, I am a New York Rangers fan, and have you forgiven us for 1994? And they always say no.
no. No.
Yeah,
Oh, Mark Messier.
yeah, that. Yeah, it is what it is. Like,
No, we've never forgotten, and
yeah.
we came close once to winning the cup again, and we're just holding on. I want them to do it for my dad, really. I just
Well,
want him to see them get a cup.
since you're speaking of dads, like when the Rangers won Game 7, that was the first time that my father and I were able to celebrate one of our championships in the same room, and that's only happened one other time. And
Oh,
yeah, that was when the Yankees won Game 4 of the '99 World Series. Those are the only two times that a New York team, one of our teams, Giants, Yankees, Rangers, Knicks, the only time that they had a championship and we were in the same room to celebrate it. It's only happened twice. And
wow.
the Rangers won, I'm sorry, I'm not giving it back because that just happened to be a very good week because the very next day I graduated high school. So,
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so that softens the blow for me a bit, at least.
Okay. Yes. To be fair, like I was rooting, for you guys to get it the next time around because I know how passionate the Canuck fans are, and I want to see them
Oh,
celebrate it.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
that's how my father learned English, really. My father moved from Vienna, Austria to Vancouver. He migrated here and he didn't know a word of English, but
Really?
he liked this thing called hockey. So between my mom teaching him and yeah, he loves the hockey. And
Wow.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's almost like the character in Better Off Dead who learned how to speak English by listening to Howard Cosell and just
Oh, fascinating.
oh yeah, it just that was the first thing that popped in my head. I'm sorry, but that's terrific, and it's funny about I remember I was wondering just as we in America tend to do is just like what is it about hockey that grabs Canadians so much? And I heard an interview from Bret Hart actually mention that because Canada is so cold so often, everyone likes to go indoors to experience sports. So that's why hockey is so popular. That's why wrestling is so popular. And I was just like, that blew my mind. I was just like, that's so simple. Just going inside. I get it now. So
Yeah, we get good at a lot of those kind of things where you constantly have to go inside and entertain yourself. But
yeah.
I like the smell of an ice rink, and I like the sound of the puck sliding and hitting, the wall. I don't know. It's very nostalgic for me growing up with it. So
That's awesome. That is fantastic. So you're growing up in Vancouver, and you said that you got into graphic design. Now, what was it that kind of spurred that? Was it just something that you started doing and realized that you had the affinity for it?
I was always attracted to the arts, but my father, my upbringing was incredibly traditional, and it was very structured. My father being quite traditional from Europe,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, going into say something like painting or the arts or acting, it wasn't so much as discouraged as it was forbidden.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I wouldn't even entertain art. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. So I thought something art related could be the graphic arts, and I absolutely love branding and I definitely have an affinity for advertising, and I still do logo design. I do the occasional branding.
Really?
branding it. Oh yeah, I did a really cool logo design over Christmas, and yeah, it was fabulous. So I still absolutely love doing that. But yeah, the reason why was generally because I knew that I knew that yeah, it would disappoint him greatly if I went into the arts, which it has.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. So you got into graphic design that led you over to Australia, like we were saying before, and then you found that moment in Australia, and when you came back, how long was that trip back? You know, like when you decided that was what you were going to do.
When I came back to Vancouver, when I
Yeah.
returned back home, it was probably about, I'd say, a year and a half. But I was overambitious, and the day I saw that show, I thought to myself, how can I have a show myself? Not let alone how can I teach myself how to paint? I had I had a solo show and taught myself how to paint within 6 months of seeing that show.
Wow.
Yeah, I painted a whole show. Yeah, that was my first show.
Wow. All right. So this is where, you know, like some really good details would be great for not only for the listeners but also for me. When you say a show, what exactly consists of it? You know, like what's the because I know that, like, you know, some people have seen them on TV or in movies and everything, but take us through what an actual show consists of. What needs to be done to put it together?
This was an art exhibition. Looking back, I probably should have joined forces with other artists and perhaps joined a gallery group show, which is how a lot of artists get their own start.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wanted, I just really wanted my own show. So
yeah.
I knew I needed around 12 paintings. Mm-hmm. So I had a goal. So at first I set the goal and I started drawing a lot. And I started shopping around for different canvases, paint qualities, and just started experimenting. I believe I had a week off with that magazine job. I had a week off during the month. So I would use that week and every day to focus on the next painting, you know, and then when that was done, it was the next painting. So while simultaneously I made connections with different venues, and once I secured a venue, which was a gorgeous sort of restaurant and events venue on the Brisbane River, I knew it was a beautiful location, and it had enough wall space, so I did have to go around looking at walls, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I needed walls, and I needed somewhere where people could go, I needed paintings, and I needed promotion. Right. So I also wrote my own copy and wrote my own press release and sent it out to various publications, and I had a really great response. And so I received some advertising in newspapers and magazines, and did a few photo shoots, and yeah, that's how it got rolling.
Wow, it's very similar actually to authors that are coming up, because it's very beneficial for authors when they have a signing to not just have it on their own, but also, like you said, to have, you know, a couple of different authors to do it with them. So that way, that kind of opens things up, and, you know, allows everyone to kind of tap into their own followers and get more people through the door. So yeah, it's very similar to what, you know, what authors have to do with. But how long did it take you to get do you remember how long it took to get your first painting done? Like the one that you were actually considered that this was going to be one of the 12?
I had a lot of really good energy and drive with that first one. And I happened to be on a holiday in Western Australia. I was diving in the Ningaloo Reef, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So the time, the momentum, and just that, you know, that holiday energy was really helpful. And it took me probably, I'd say, a week Yeah, a week, and going back and forth and making changes and revisions, and just it came together nicely, though, probably because I was on holiday and maybe because I was a little bit more free mentally.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice.
and then it just snowballed. So then I made another one, and then I came back home in Brisbane, and then I made the rest of them, and it was just so much fun. They were all different colors, and yeah,
So,
it was incredible.
so were they all like different? Did this may sound like a stupid question, but did was it where one painting tied into another and another and another, or were they all just standalone paintings, all 12 of them?
They were all standalone paintings, but they were all different. They were all different portraits and standalone, but the style was what thematically held them together, along with the fun color palette.
Okay. So they all really kind of mesh well with each other, but at the same time, when people are buying them, they can buy that one and they wouldn't be missing anything, if they just brought that one home.
Correct.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is so cool. So so how did it feel like once once everything was set up, once all the paintings were up on the walls, once you had the venue, selected and everything was going, what was that feeling for you for that first show that you had?
I think perhaps it was pure terror when I saw people coming, and I didn't know what to do with my body.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was me and my story on the walls, and I'm also an actor, so as an actor, when you're playing a role, like there's like you're comfortable. I feel you're more comfortable in your body because you know what to do, because you're sort of assigned a character.
You have your script and you've been able to memorize it, and you're not stumbling over words trying to say what you want to convey because it's already there. So,
right.
Yeah.
And you might know the way you walk or your body posture or just idiosyncrasies. And so I felt more confronted as myself than, when I'm acting in front of an audience. Mm-hmm. So that was new.
Yeah. I definitely know that feeling. So, wow.
Yeah, and I'm an introvert, so it was terrifying. It was exhilarating at the same time, and to this day, when it happens, I'm just grateful when when I see people I love show up, and people, it's like that they took the time out of their day or their night. You can they could be doing anything, and that they came, and that's the greatest gift for me.
That really is. I definitely know what you mean on that with that. So, so you had your first show, and how far back was that? Like in terms of date?
That was, I guess, almost 10 years ago now. Yeah, so I've been painting for about just over 10 years.
That's fantastic. That's so cool. So you had that first show, and it was obviously a success, correct?
Yes, it was wonderful.
Yeah. And so was that what, drove you to, want to get another show going? How long did it take you between shows to get another set, up and running?
Perhaps a few months later, I found another venue, and I put up, it wasn't like a formal reception type of an event, but I did do another show, and I did a few other group shows in Brisbane before I left to come back to Canada. Mm-hmm. And then once I came back here, I believe that I was struck with more stylistic choices, and I learned a lot from being in a different place. And it was sort of shocking to come back after being away for so long. And I was looking at different styles in Vancouver, and I was painting to the market where I've since learned you should just be painting what you want to paint.
Right.
So that tripped me up for a few years. That I wasn't pure, and I wasn't listening to my own intuition, and I was painting. I was like, oh, okay, like abstracts in style now, this kind of tone and this color and floral. People like floral, people like mountains, people like wildlife. So I was just trying to follow trends because I wanted to make a living at it. And I wanted to paint what people wanted to see. And so I was considering, I feel like I was considering audience too heavily. And so I forgot about myself.
Who is like the main audience that you really, at the end of the day, you really have to please, the audience of one, which is you. That's something with art. That's something with writing. That's basically like any art form. If you are not true to yourself and what you're doing, then the work itself is going to suffer because you're not putting everything into it. It's something that a lot of people kind of realize, and some of them maybe too late, and then they're able to kind of turn things around and be able to create something with passion, which sounds like that's what you were able to do. You're able to kind of right that ship. So what was that when you finally were able to kind of break away from that following the trend mold? What was that first show like when it was back to being just you and your passion?
It was absolutely incredible. But for me, I prefer painting. I prefer the process than the show, the openings, exhibition. I actually don't enjoy them.
Really?
I don't enjoy the glamour per se, or the photographs, or the reception. I don't enjoy that at all. It's strange.
Really? Because from what I see on social media, it seems like you're having a blast. You're enjoying yourself. It looks like there's a lot of people that are there to celebrate with you and everything. So that's I get it. It is very freeing to just be able to cast everything aside and just have you and the art form that you're doing. How is that feeling for you? Just to kind of like reiterate my last question, when you got to do your first painting after the whole trend following, what was that experience like?
It's hard to remember the very painting because I experimented with many different styles, techniques, which it all has worked out into creating my style today. And so I feel I'm a more skilled artist. But I didn't realize years ago that painting and being alone and by yourself with the work, that feeling of joy in the moment of when you're working is not the same when you put on an exhibition. Yeah. And and it's like wonderful to see friends and people and have a good time. But it's just, I guess what I was getting at is it doesn't feel artful per se. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to describe.
Well, yeah, it's
another thing.
Yeah, like I get it. When you have that sort of breakthrough, when you're working on something, that rush it's a drug. You just want to keep going after it more and more and more. So I definitely understand.
It is a drug.
Yeah, and so you said that you have worked with all these different styles. The one style I guess I would call it, which is what really kind of caught my eye because it was the first picture. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but it was a Disney one. And so what brought you to, obviously everyone, loves Disney. What was it that made you decide that you wanted to, I don't want to say tribute them or emulate them or, create something in honor of them, just what the kind of work that you do is fantastic. So,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved, I absolutely love like all the Disney related stuff that you've gotten here. And so tell us what was that like when you were able to kind of go in that direction?
Oh, whenever I paint Disney, it always feels incredible. And especially when I can mix disciplines. I love animation themes with my abstract style. So that to me is just a dream. And if I can keep on doing that, I will. I just love creating those images. But I believe Disney in North America, Disney happens to everyone, really.
Oh,
but
yeah.
for me, what what was very impactful was just being a child at the time of the Disney Renaissance period when The Little Mermaid came out.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I saw The Little Mermaid, it really did impact me. The gorgeous line work of Glenn Keane, the music, was just. It was the best thing I'd ever seen, and maybe it's the best thing I'll ever see. It's a movie of mastery. And so the same year that I saw The Little Mermaid, I actually went to the Disney parks for the first time.
Oh, no kidding.
And so that it was like a double whammy of Disney for me, because I would it was incredible. So I would watch The Little Mermaid, and I would pause scenes of Part of Your World, and I would take out my sketchbook, and that's how I taught myself how to draw, was actually The Little Mermaid, and pausing and drawing stills of Ariel. And so going to Disneyland in that same year was unbelievable. So I think that I've never forgotten that. And being so young and coming from a very structured family, as a child, I was put to bed quite early. And so being out in Disneyland was my first memory of seeing night for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Watching the electrical light parade with my mom, I was able to stay up later. So I felt that we were in this magical world where my parents were very happy, and it was just so relaxing. And to see something magical like the night with those gorgeous lights, the juxtaposition of that was incredible. And so that's where my Disney origins, my family folklore lie. And so I've always had that. But a trip to Disney, I hadn't gone in a very long time, and a trip to Disneyland, perhaps it was 5 years ago, I came across Wonderground Gallery in downtown Disney, and I saw that there were independent artists there creating pieces that were inspired by Disney and by their own personal style. And I was actually encouraged by Disney Imagineer Larry Nicolai to start creating my own style and pitching it to Wonderground Gallery. And artist Randy Noble, who is in Orlando, he's been a wonderful mentor, dare I say, for me with my style, and just he follows my journey as well, and he's been very encouraging. So that's how my Disney pieces came to be.
That's amazing, just getting that sort of endorsement really from them. That's terrific. So was Ariel the first Disney painting that you finished, or was it a different one?
Ariel, I think, will always be the first and be the last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I've drawn her my entire life. So, I just enjoy drawing her so much.
That's amazing. That's so cool that you were able to get Disney involved as well. That's definitely living the dream. And kudos to Disney themselves for actually putting that kind of that opening out there for them. Yeah,
they were great. I mean, Disney, not Disney necessarily, but Disney, artists and Imagineers of Disney are so incredibly supportive. The Disney community is wonderful. And thank goodness for social media and for those wonderful artists putting out their work, and everyone sharing their stuff and just being accessible. And it's been wonderful.
Wow.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. If you've never been an Audible customer and want to see what they offer, just go to www.audibletrial.com/Excelsior Journeys and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title for free and start listening. It's that easy. Why Audible? Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, and entertainers. And with this free 30-day trial, you'll have your pick of it all. You can hear books of all genres narrated by Jim Dale, Stephen Fry, Will Patton, Alex Hyde White, Jeff Brick, Neil Shaw, William Demerit, and even a few by me, George Sirois. So go to www.audibletrial.com/Excelsior Journeys and start your own 30-day journey with Audible today.
Yeah, so so you have the Disney side, but you also have the abstract side, which is also, very, very striking, very, very beautiful work.
Thank you.
Was that always something that you really wanted to focus on, or was there? You said before that you were doing portraits, for your first few shows, but what was it about the abstract work that really kind of grabbed you? Was it like a particular color? Was it a particular form of the? I almost feel kind of stupid, even asking, just because I don't have an art background.
No.
But I'm just curious to see what was it that brought you to that form?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it is so night and day with the portrait work. It is it's a completely different thing. And what was happening was I was in conversation with an art agency who supply work for luxury hotels around the world. And I was in conversation with them for several months. And so I was submitting to them my portrait work, and they were having a look at all my figurative work. And they said they felt that the portrait work was very specific, and it was incredibly provocative and edgy. And they wanted to see, they were looking at the backgrounds beyond the portraits. And they said, can you do a painting of just the background? And I said, just the background, just like empty. And they said, yes, we love your brush strokes. Can you experiment with that? So off I went, and that developed over the years into a specific abstract style and an appreciation for abstract art that wasn't there before.
Yes. And just thinking of abstract art makes me think of the opening of Fantasia, the Toccata and Fugue, and how that was so playing so much with abstract. In the beginning of Fantasia 2000, using the opening with the Beethoven's Fifth, same sort of thing. Did those play a part as well? And since it is so they are Disney related, but at the same time they have an abstract bend to them. Do you think that those also kind of played a part in inspiring you?
I have not seen those, so I'd have to say no, but I really want to now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be the first to say Fantasia was my all-time favorite Disney film. That's just,
I love that.
Something about it. It just really, I think it's because I know of the behind the scenes of it, because I know that, and in fact, if you get your hands on the DVD. For both Fantasia and Fantasia 2000, there are two terrific making of featurettes on them, especially with the first one, because the first one really kind of into what drove Walt to want to make this in the first place, and the painful steps that he took to make it a realization. And it's really something special, so just seeing that, I would recommend kind of seeing that, even though you're not really going to spoil anything by watching that, because it does feature clips during that. But what it does is it gives you a good look into Walt's mindset to see what he was really going for, and then watching the film unfold it's a true delight. It's for any Disney fan, I'd highly recommend both of them. So yeah.
I haven't. It's the 2000 that I haven't seen. So
I will have to. I was fortunate enough to see Fantasia 2000 at the IMAX on 68th and Broadway, and this was this is a true IMAX theater. So the screen was huge, and it was an IMAX. It was an IMAX format that they played it in. So it was covering the entire screen, and the very end of it like had me just like teared up. It was really something. So yeah, highly recommend Fantasia 2000. I had a real blast with that. And my God, the Firebird suite at the very end, just it had me in tears. It really did. But enough about me. Let's get back to you. So so you said as well that you also are also an actor. So how long have you been pursuing that?
Well, first came music. I growing up in the church that I grew up in here in Vancouver, where there's a lot of choir. I've always taken private voice lessons, and I slowly started to go into musical theater as a hobby. And my mom loved to take my sister and I to theater shows growing up. So there's just something about the stage, and I absolutely love musical theater. And so I think that I decided to get an agent during one of my theater shows maybe 5 years ago, and I thought, well, let's see how this works for film and TV. And it is a very different style of acting. It's a different animal altogether. So I've only been doing that for a few years, and it's so different. It's a craft for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a real joy to be able to study it in, especially in New York. But at the same time, I had gotten into the main theater department, but I did not get into the BFA acting one, which is like one step up. And when I auditioned for it a second time and I still didn't get in, it turns out that it wound up being a blessing in disguise, because being able to stay in just like the general theater department with a concentration in acting, that allowed me to fill up my my schedule with other classes that I wouldn't have taken if I was in the BFA acting one. And so I got to do a lot of more writing classes. And that's what really kind of made me fall back in love with writing and kind of led me on the path that I'm on right now. And so, theater and I go way back as well. And I'm always thrilled to see, to be able to talk with people that have been able to continue to pursue it in some way. So, with another thing that I've seen, quite a bit on your profile is is also the cosplaying that you do. As I've seen, I've seen you dress up as Lara Croft. I've seen you dress up as Poison Ivy. And was that just for Halloween, or is that going for like different conventions or whatever? Do you?
I was gonna say cosplay. I didn't know I did that. I'm just being myself.
Really? No, it's good stuff too. So that's definitely.
Oh, I love it. If I had more time, I think, and if I had more patience, because I'm a perfectionist, I think I would put together costumes more often. Yeah, now you're making me think about it. Yeah, it's so much fun to put together a look, and it's just dynamite. I love doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, I the Lara Croft one came out great. So I was.
Oh, that's so great! I only did it that one time. I have it in my closet. I should bring her out again. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. I love Tomb Raider. That's so great. And I've never done any conventions before. I don't know what that experience would be like.
It's thankfully because of recent years, they've kind of reined in any sort of like bad behavior by a lot of convention goers. It's a really stupid element that comes with any sort of fan base, really. It's just that the people that insist that everything has to stay just as it was when they first became a fan. And for a lot of these guys, when they became fans and going to conventions, they were like, the likes of them were the only ones that would be there. And as years passed and it became, everything became much more universally appealing, then all of a sudden more diverse crowds started coming in, and that's what kind of made a lot of them kind of hostile in a really, really stupid way. So that's something that I'm glad to see isn't as big a thing these days. I'm hoping that it continues to dilute itself more and more and more, because one of the great things about geek culture and everything is how inviting it's supposed to be, and too many people don't really see that. Especially because they're not celebrating they're not celebrating what the stories that they love so much are trying to tell them. So it's a shame, but at the same time, I think you would definitely enjoy going to some conventions, and I'm sure that you'll get quite a few compliments on the Lara Croft one as well. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds intense.
Well, it can be if you allow yourself to kind of get sucked up into that. If you're just going there to have a good time, you're going to have a good time. You know what I mean? Too many people kind of let that kind of toxicity kind of get to them. But you get, as I'm sure you know, you can find toxicity everywhere. It's just a matter of whether or not you choose to actually dwell in it. And the less people that that tend to voluntarily dwell in it, the better off everyone will be. So that's my own. That's I'm Ken Brockman, and that's my 2 cents. Just anyway,
noted.
Yeah, let me step off my soapbox for just a second and allow you back on. So, tell us what you're currently working on. You've had this journey, you've had this great journey with art that's it's been over 10 years, and what is it that you want to continue to be? What is it that you want to continue to do? Because no one's ever really satisfied with where they are. Everyone's trying to get better in some way. So what is it that you want to be like the next step for you and for your art?
Well, I am deep into research and development for my next art series. And I've been doing a lot of research and writing and reading, and I really try to build a strong foundation. And there's a lot of back end work that goes into a painting or a series of paintings. So I'm really taking my time, and I'm being very careful and precious about the work that I put out now, because I want it to be my best, and I want it to be everything that I want to say, and that everything that I am up until now. So I'm creating my own story, and I love the idea of universe and owning one's own style, and just that's what I'm working on now. So I don't know exactly when it's going to come out, but I'm developing my own world per se.
That's awesome.
Which I've never done before.
So it's almost like what you're doing is it's almost like you're taking a page from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is also a Disney, a Disney property.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah.
And you're basically just kind of like creating almost like a shared universe kind of thing, like with your art. Almost like that's actually really brilliant. I love that concept, and just the fact that you so it's basically going to be like different paintings that that are kind of like in this shared universe that you're in the process of researching right now. Is that?
That's right. I want my work to be pure. I'm a purist. I want it to be pure, and I want it to be honest, and to be the best I know and the best I can do, and I want it to belong to its own collection. And so in diving into my favorite kind of styles, I like to paint in my color palette. I want it to belong to its own world. So I am in the process of storyline even, and character work. And
Really?
it's a monster that I have never taken on before, and it is so big. But it's been, I mean, perhaps it's been following me around my entire life. I just haven't had the courage to pursue it until now.
Wow. So it's almost like it's basically like you're introducing characters in one art form that you can potentially kind of explore in other art forms, in the future, maybe.
Yes, precisely. Yeah, absolutely. To pursue various touch points and just for it to be a versatile thing, because I love to paint, but there are other art styles as well that I want it to lend itself to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so cool. It's so cool. It's almost like how like the Matrix did it. How they had the movies, but they also had the Animatrix, and they had the role playing game, and then they had the big the other game that was spanning years in the making, and just kind of creating a universe in a sense, like in a multimedia universe where like all different elements where you would go to in order to get the whole story. It's so it's kind of like you're
that's neat. Yeah.
So this is an amazing project that you have in the works right now. So as for my listeners, I'm sure that hopefully there'll be some listeners that are just kind of thinking about wanting to get into art, wanting to get into painting, but aren't really sure exactly how to do it. What kind of tips would you have for someone who has seen your work, has been inspired by your work, but isn't sure exactly how to take that next step? What would you have to say to them?
I would say, first off, to pay attention to the things that you like and you love throughout your entire life. I think that going back to your childhood, as I do all the time, is extremely important. The past is such a teller of so many things. So I think that just trying to remember what are the things that made you feel alive when you're a child, through play, through taste, through color. And you'll find that a lot of the time it's what you would like now as well. So just to honor the past, and to just be patient with yourself. If you're trying to draw or write or do photography, just to try to find play within it rather than constrict too much with rules and comparisons with other artists, how it should be. Because as you're developing your own style, the beauty of it is it's yours, even though it may be influenced by many different things. I guess just allow yourself the time to play, the time to explore, and be gentle on yourself. It would be my advice.
Yes, that's definitely something that all artists really need to remember, is to be gentle on ourselves, because we are the ones that we have a tendency to beat up the most. So
yeah, I do every day. I have to remind myself of that every day, because I'm incredibly self-critical. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And
really,
it's only this year really that I've decided to stop doing that, because I felt like it was not doing me any favors. I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned this before, just saying that what Tony Robbins said: claim who you are, claim who God brought you here to be. And said what was it that he said? I don't know what religion you follow, but I know that I definitely know that that a higher power did not create you so you could give yourself all these different limitations. And so when I heard that, I was just like, yeah, that's pretty much it right there. So yeah.
I feel that most people come to that. Sometimes they come to it too late, though. I feel most people come to that too late. because it's a lot of work to try to be yourself, because there's so many different influences and we get so busy and inundated and we should be like this or we should be like that. And so I think that people who are more so fully themselves have put in a lot of work and surround themselves with like-minded people, in my experience anyways. That's what I've observed.
Just to wrap up, where can our listeners find you?
Oh, well, you can find me on Twitter at Lisa Rosa Penz. That's Penz for American listeners, Z for Canadian listeners. And then on Instagram, it's just Lisa Penz.
Excellent. And this has been a terrific conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And just as Lisa did, she decided to follow her passion. And so all I ask for all of you listeners is that you do the same for yourself. Ask yourself, what is it that drives you into wanting to get yourself out there? And when you get yourself out there, just like what Tony Robbins said, claim who you are. So don't put yourself out there and then shrivel up. I've done that way too many times. That's not helpful. Put yourself out there. Let the world know that you are here, that you matter. And that's what Lisa has done with her work. And that's what hopefully I continue to do with my writing. And I hope that's what all of you continue to do with whatever it is that follows, that drives you, that ignites your passion. So please keep that in mind as we continue on with these Excelsior journeys. And for Lisa Penz, this is George Sirois saying to you, ever upward.